Good morning, students. Welcome back to my 8th lecture of your subject code CPC 505 in continuation of the module 3. That means we are discussing the sewer appurtenances in last class 7 lecture, isn't it? So we are discussing different types of manholes. We already come across the spacing, selection of the spacing, inside sizes of the manholes, and then we have seen the classification of manholes according to the depths in our earlier classes. And in continuation to that, we'll today discuss the balance part of that sewer appurtenances, that is in my 8th lecture. So let me discuss first the topic, that is the drop manhole. Suppose if the two sewers are in different level, that means the inverted level are two different sewers. One is the band sewers and another is the main sewers are more than 0.6 meter. Then the concept of drop manhole, that is the drop piping system, will be coming. So this drop manhole will be more appropriate when there is a drop of the sewer line from the drop, means the difference level of the invert level of between these two sewer lines, branch sewer and the main sewer. Say, putting an example, that level difference drops more than 0.6 meter, then we have to use that drop manhole to control the gradient and to satisfy the maximum velocity, that is the non-scouring velocity. Why I am highlighting the term, that is for controlling the gradient and satisfy the maximum velocity, because if we don't have that drop manhole, if we don't provide that drop manhole at this particular case, then what would happen? There will be a steep gradient and will give the steep gradient, means it will create the scouring velocity. It will scour the pipeline materials and scouring the piping material and will damage the material. So that's why, to avoid this steep gradient, for scouring velocity we have to maintain the non-scouring velocity, and to satisfy the maximum velocity, controlling gradient, all these things keeping in mind, and for economical purposes we have to use the drop manhole. So finally it is seen that where the difference in level between the invert level of the branch sewer and the water line, that is the main pipe sewer line, is at maximum distance is greater than 0.6 meter, then we don't have any option but to go for the drop manhole. This drop manhole concept, either you have to build vertical or nearly vertical drop pipe from higher sewer to the lower sewer, as I am showing you the figure, then it will be understood. Because unless and until you see, this is the figure. Follow the right side figure, that the branch sewer is there and the main sewer in the manhole location, it in the SAT portion, that I must say is there. So how this from by dropping the pipe from that upper level branch sewer line to the lower level main sewer line, it is being connected to the SAP. That picture I am just highlighting to you. Again, I will come back to the picture. Let me discuss the theoretical part. So this is the concept of dropping manhole. I mean to say the drop manhole. I have told in which case it will be applicable. Now the drop manhole is also required in the same sewer line in sloping ground also. Forget about that to invert level of the sewer. If it is a sloping ground, then what will happen? The sewer line will follow the terrain of the slope of the ground, that is the slope of the terrain. And if it is a sloping ground, then sewer line also will be steep. Then there is a problem of that non-scouring velocity again. So what we have to do? We have to provide again that drop manhole to provide the mild slope, to avoiding the steep slope following the terrain, sloping ground. There also it can be used. So it can be, drop manhole can be used in case of sloping ground, or in case of the difference in level, as I have mentioned you earlier, difference in the inverted level of the branch sewer and the main trunk sewer. Now this drop pipe may be two types. This dropping may be done in two types in construction. That drop pipe may be outside the shaft, and the shaft means I'm telling it is a manhole outside the shaft and encased in concrete or supported on brackets inside the shaft. see the left one I am showing, it is inside the shaft. The pipeline has been dropped from top to bottom, supporting with the bracket by the inside from the inside shaft, and the right one figure shows the pipeline has been lowered from the top square to the bottom main square outside the shaft. So that two systems is being used in the construction that I am showing in the figure. So it is outside. It may be outside the shaft, or it may be continued inside the wall, inside the shaft also. If the drop pipe is outside the shaft, a continuation of the swell should be built to the shaft wall to form a rodding and inspection eye, providing with half blank flange. I am just clarifying this thing what I am just now telling you. If you see the figure right one, if it is the outside shaft, then what is happened? You just see the movement of my crusher here. That is the plugging is being done. Plugging is being done means when it is maintained, then through this whole system the maintenance is being done. This connecting pipe portion from the shaft to the branch swell in the T connection zone, that is where the bottom or the lowering pipe has been connected to the T connection zone. So this portion is being used as an inspection for that I mean to say the branch swell. So this eyepiece is the inspection eyepiece. Inspection eye is there, provided with high black flange. So as and when required, that inspection can be carried out with this half blank flange to the lateral swell into the manhole. So this is the concept has been formed in the right side figure. Now when drop pipe is inside the shaft, that means when I am showing the left hand figure, when drop pipe is inside the shaft, isn't it? Then what will happen? Now it should be of cast iron and provided with adequate arrangement. No need for casement of this pipe like the right one, like the earlier one when it is laid outside the shaft. No need for encase, so it should be cast iron and provided with the adequate arrangements for rodding and with water cushion of 150 mm depth at the end. The diameter of drop pipe should be at least equal to the incoming pipe. So this is the concept of the drop manhole. The two figures I have told you. Now is a very simple phenomena. I am just discussing you day to day, which you are observing. That is the scraper type manhole. Scraper means service type manhole. Then scraping. That means we are scraping the precipitated, silted inside the swell. So how this scraping is being done? That service type manhole, scraper type manhole, I am just giving you in one sentence. If the swells above 450 mm in diameter should have one manhole and intervals of 110 to 120 meter of scraper type. What this mean? Why is this is nomenclature as a scraper? Because the manhole should have clear opening 1.2 meter by 0.9 meter at the top, facilitating lowering the buckets. Because lowering the buckets, we are scraping the materials and pouring into the buckets, and the buckets being up. So by this way, by scraping the materials, the cleaning process is being done through this service type manhole or the scraper type manhole. Then I'll be considering the flushing manholes, and this is the last one I am describing about the manhole part. And different categories I have described. Now this is the last part of the manholes I have arrived. That is the flushing manhole. What does it indicate? Now in flat ground for branch swells, if the terrain is the flat, that means it is not a sloping ground, what will be happen? Now it is not possible to obtain self cleaning velocity because proper slope is not there. So self cleaning velocity will not be possibly applied over here at all floors. So due to very little flow, it is necessary to incorporate flushing service. Otherwise, the materials will be choked. Siltation will be done, will be taking place in the swell. So what we have to do? We have to provide the flushing device for flushing the system. That means by flushing water into the system for washing out that soaking materials inside the swell. So this is achieved by making grooves at intervals of 45 to 50 meter in the main drains, which wooden planks are inserted and water is allowed to head up. When the planks are removed, then the water will, as per the requirement basis, when will be taking the flushing, then the wooden planks are removed and the water will rush with high velocity, facilitating cleaning of the sewers. So this is the concept of flushing manholes. Alternatively, flushing can be carried out by using water from overhead tank. Overhead tank, there is a head difference of the pressure, head difference of the water level is there, and that head difference pipes that head difference to the piping system, that pressure by the water by pressure can be supplied and can be used in the flushing hydrants or through the hydrants, tankers and hose. So these are the things, mechanism for maintenance purpose, so that any materials are blocked, no materials should be choked inside the sewer cross section. Now, flushing manholes are provided at the end of the sewers because there is a tendency of choking the materials after certain flow. So that's why it is not provided at the start time. It is provided at the end of the at the head of the sewers. So flushing manholes are provided at the head of the sewers. Sufficient velocity shall be imparted in the sewer to wash away the deposited solids. In case of heavy choking in sewers, care should be exercised to ensure that there is no possibility to backflow of the sewage into the water supply system. Yes, obviously that point has to be taken care. Carefully it has to be handled, the flushing, so that the backflow should not, the backflow means the sewage backflow, if it again come back, then it will be very detrimental. So that has to be checked, because something, the choking materials, due to the reason of choking materials, the flow may be come back. So that has to be taken care, that backflow of the sewage while flushing into the system, into the supply main. Very interesting topic. I am just now highlighting you. That is the inverted siphon. Suppose in the laying of the sewers, it is practically happened in our construction. In the laying of the sewers, some obstacles or some obstructions have come in laying of the sewers. What is that obstruction? The roadway has come. That the other underground utility piping system. Utility piping system means the gas line, or that I mean to say the electric line, cable system. The utility, so many system, utility service lines are there. So the flow is obstructed. What to do? For that certain portion, you have to have the bend and lower the piping system in the siphonic manner. So that's why it is called the inverted siphon. I'm just showing you the picture, then it will be clear. You see where the pipe bends, pipe I have turned, I have started pipe bend downwards. That point is inlet chamber, and the other end of that obstruction portion is called the outlet chamber. And through the inlet and outlet chamber, in these two junctions, the inverted siphon, that means the portion of the sewer pipeline has to lay down the system under the soil above the atmospheric pressure. So that's why it is called the siphon action. So since the underground water pressure above the atmospheric pressure, it is being occurred over here. So let us see what is the inverted siphon. Now I am explaining this term. I have shown you the figures. Now actually the inverted siphon, basically we have seen the deepest sewer is a sewer that runs full under the gravity flow at a pressure above the atmospheric pressure. That's why it is called the inverted siphon, because in siphon the pressure is occurred above the atmospheric pressure. And the inverted siphon, why? Because it is being lowered under the existing system. So inverted siphons are used to pass under obstacles, as I have highlighted, such as bodied pipes, subways. This terminology siphon is misnomer, as there is no option action in the deepest sewer. As the inverted siphon requires considerable attention for maintenance, it should be used only where other means of passing an obstacle in line of the sewer are impracticable. So this is the inverted siphon where the obstruction comes that I have shown you. These are all the sewer appurtenances where it is applicable, in which situation it is being used. Not only the sewers, this terminology are definitely the essentials in related with the sewerage system, in laying the sewer system in the sewerage drainage work. Now, the stormwater inlets. What are these? As the name stormwater inlets, that the inlets basically are accepted for the rainwater. So it is provided to admit the surface runoff after the raining to the sewers. What happened? After the rainfall, the surface runoff occurs, which should not infiltrate into the ground. Some portion infiltrates into the ground, and balance surface runoff occurs, and it enters into the sewers. So for entering into the sewers under the ground, this surface runoff has to be accepted to the inlets, and that is the significance of the stormwater inlets, which I am going to say. So these are classified in three types, in three groups. Very interesting. I will show you the figure that will be very understood. What is that? The three different types of the stormwater inlets. What are they? One is the curb inlet, second one is the gutter inlet, and third one is the combined inlets. Combined inlet is the combination, as the name indicates, it is the combination of the curb inlets and the gutter inlet. Let's see what is the curb inlets. Now, again, they are provided either depressed or flush with respect to the elevation of the pavement surface. That will see whether it is a depressed from the level of the road surface or it is a flushed with the level of the road surface. Definitely that will see in different classification how these stormwater inlets are being constructed, and the structure of the inlet is constructed with brickwork with cast iron grating. That means top portion is the grating for accepting the rainwater, for accepting the surface runoff, and the inlet chamber is constructed, that is the brickwork, since it is in being shallow depth, no question of the RCC. So at the opening confirming the IS 5961. Now, what the traffic load is not expected, that fabricated steel grating can be used instead of that cast iron grating. The clear opening shall not be more than 25 millimeter. The connecting pipe from the street inlet to the sewer should be minimum of 200 millimeter diameter, because with this 200 millimeter diameter, which is the connecting pipe between the stormwater drainage to the sewer line, that diameter has to be selected as a 200 millimeter. Now the maximum spacing of 30 meter is recommended between the inlets. So these stormwater inlets at the rate of 30 meter interval along the roadside has to be placed, and which is also depending on the road surface size and type of inlet and rainfall. More the rainfall, so definitely the spacing will be reduced. Less the rainfall, the spacing will be more, because the arrest of the rainwater will be less there. Now the curb inlet. First of all, let me show you the figure that will be understood. You see, the curb inlet is, I'm just showing this cursor. This is the curb inlet, curb opening. That means it is beside, it is at the curve of the road. That's why it is called curb inlet. Why it is curb inlet? It is at the curve of the road, at the edge of the road, rather I would say, not at the top plan, but at the elevation side. Kindly note it down. From this road, whatever the surface runoff, at the curve when that road, that surface runoff vis-a-vis the stormwater enters into the box, that is the inlet, that is the storm inlet, and from here through 200 diameter pipe, as I told you, it is connecting to the stormwater drainage. So this it is connecting to the sewer water pipe. So this is the thing. So let's see what is the curb inlet. These are vertical openings. As I told you, this is at the edge of the road, at the curve of the road. So that this is in the elevation portion. This is in the vertical opening, not the horizontal opening, in the road curve, through which stormwater flow enters. As shown you in the figure, the stormwater drains, and from stormwater drains, the water where the stormwater is collected. So from where through pipe connected, it will be connected to the sewer pipe. Okay. Now there is the gutter inlets. what are the gutter inlets? Now these are horizontal openings in the gutter. It is in the plan. Earlier it was discussed in the opening, in the vertical opening. Now I am explaining the horizontal opening. How it is? I am showing you the photograph. I am showing you the figure. This is the horizontal opening on the plan. So you see the cover with grating. That means the all the surface runoff will be coming up to the top surface. So top grating portion, that is the plan area. So that is the difference between the curve inlet and the gutter inlet, because the gutter inlet, here the horizontal openings in the gutter is there, and it is covered by one or more grating through which stormwater is admitted. And what is combined inlets? It is the combination of curve inlet and gutter. That means in huge storms, the water enters through the not only through the curve portion but also for the gutter inlets in the plan horizontal portion also. So in this, the curve and gutter inlet both are provided to act as a single unit. The gutter inlet is normally placed right in front of the curve inlet. Yes, that we have seen. Again, I will show you that the gutter inlet is basically normally right of the curve inlet. You see from the figure. So this is in the at the curve end, and that is on the gutter inlet is on the top surface. So definitely that will be right of the curve opening. So this is the storm inlet I have just described you. Now catch basins, that is also related with that storm water, very important, which is catch basin. Now catch basins are provided to stop the entry of heavy debris present in the storm water. Now these catch basins are constructed. This is basically a chamber. A chamber, either the RCC wall or you can say is a masonry chamber like brick chamber. Now this chamber, generally the purpose of making this chamber, making this catch basin is the arresting of the materials, arresting of the debris which are present in the storm water, because these debris along with the storm water should not allow to pass into the sewer for malfunctioning the system. So what we have to do, we have to arrest these debris into the pit, and we have to arrest these debris into the pit, into the stormwater, into the sewers. However, their use is discouraged because of the nuisance due to mosquito breeding, apart from because the top portion is perforated. So definitely if there is a drain, open drain with perforated, then there is a tendency of producing the mosquito and all these things. So that will not be entertained every time, because there is a disadvantage always. But this is the system, you must all aware of that. As I am teaching you all the appurtenances systems, appurtenances, so I must highlight these things. But this is the disadvantageous point also for making the nuisance due to mosquito breeding, as it is the perforated drain covered, where from the mosquito from the water pit can be generated. At the bottom of the basin, space is provided for the accumulation of impurities, and perforated cover is there, top cover is there to admit rainwater, because you have to make the perforation, otherwise how you can calculate the rainwater into the pit. And a hood, you see the inverted bend, it is called the hood, is provided to prevent escape of sewer gas. No sewer gas can be escaped, so that's why to maintain a hood system into this catch basin, that hood means an inverted bend has been placed, which is called the catch basin hood, and this is provided to prevent escape of sewer gas. Now the cleanouts. This is these all are things which will be discussed, which will be used in the operation and maintenance of the sewers. That operation and maintenance of the sewers will be the discussing topic in the next lecture. That is lecture number 9. Not this lecture. We'll in this lecture only discuss the sewer appurtenances. That's all. Now this 8th lecture class, again I will discuss the sewer appurtenances. That is the cleanouts. What is this? It is a pipe which is connected to the underground water. The other end of the cleanout pipe, see, this is the figure. So you see one pipe is connected from the ground level to the lateral shear under the ground. Now what is the purpose of this laying this pipe from the ground to the underground sewer to clean out the pipe. Because this through this pipe we can insert the rod, we can pass the pressurized water system into the piping system for clearing the debris. We can insert the rod, and here and there after the movement of the rod also the maybe some precipitation, some blocking materials may be cleared out. So these are used for clean out activity. So a clean out is generally provided at the upper end of the lateral sewers in place of manholes. During blockage of pipes, the cover is taken out, because in this clean out pipe, which have that oblique pipe, that inclined pipe, which is called the clean out pipe, that at the top surface of the ground where it is flush with the ground surface, so there is a cover. So during blockage of pipe, this cover is taken out. We are removing that cover, and water is forced, as I mentioned, by jet pressure. Water is forced to clean out pipe to lateral sewers to remove the obstacles in the pipe. And for large obstacles, flexible, those obstacles which cannot be removed with the flow of water itself, then also we can do that flexible rod may be inserted through the clean out pipe and move forward and backward to remove such obstacles. So this oblique pipe, as I have showed you in the figure, it is being used for cleanup activities, either through passing through the water in pressure, or even if it is not removed, blockage is not removed, then we have to take care of the flexible pipe, move forward and backward. And for this part, by this method, using this method, we have to clear the blockage in the pipe temporarily without the help of the manhole, by using the clean out pipe. This is the concept of the clean out pipe. Now, coming to the next appurtenances, that is the regulator or overflow device. Now you have to think, if the flow is much more from the water treatment plant, from the wastewater treatment plant, from pumping stations, wherever from treatment plants, either from treatment plant, pumping station, even if the sewer carries the high flow, then we have to take the action. Then we have to take care for diverting this overflow, diverting this excess flow to the relief sewer that will be laid nearby the main sewer, the relief sewer that is called. So by which mechanism we will divert the excess flow from the main sewer to the relief sewer? By the mechanism of the overflow device. So what is the regulator or overflow device function? Overflow device function and overflow or regulator device function is to divert the excess flow to the relief sewer. And the overflow device may be a side flow or leaping wells. Either it may be a side flow or leaping wells according to the position of the well, siphon spillways, or float actuated gates and valves. Let us see one by one. Now under the regulator or overflow device, side flow well, let us see the figure. This is the combined sewer. Why I am giving you the example of combined sewer? Because the combined sewer carries the maximum flow, including both the sewage flow and the sanitary sewage, as well as the rainwater flow. So flow is more. So there is a question of diverting the flow into the relief sewer. You see the connecting lateral pipe, it is being connected with the lateral pipe. So this is an example. This figure is an example of the side flow well. Why side flow here? Because inside of the sewer, at the level of the maximum flow of the sewer, a connecting pipe is being provided with the sewer to the relief sewer, so that the excess flow after the level is reached, it will be reached to the connecting, it will be reached to the relief sewer through the connecting pipe, and the connection is inside. So it is a side flow sewer. So it is constructed along one or both sides. It depends on the flow. If the flow is huge, then the both sides should be connected with this piping system. So this side flow where can be one-sided or can be both-sided of the sewer, combined sewer, and delivers the excess flow during storm period to relief sewers or natural drainage system. the crest of the weir is set at an elevation corresponding to the desired depth of flow in the sphere. You see, the weir means the pipe, that the connecting pipe that we are calling is a weir. So WEIR, this test of that weir system has been taken in parity with the water depth, that is the depth of the flow in the sphere. You can see from the figure. The weir length must be sufficient long for effective regulation of the flow. Definitely, it should be sufficiently long for effective regulation of the flow. So this is the side flow of the where I have just told you. Now I am coming to the second one, that is also the category of that we are discussing the regulator or overflow device. One I have described overflow device, that is the side flow weir. Now I am going to describe that is the leaping weir. LEAPING, leaping weir. What is that? Now the term leaping weir is used to indicate the gap or opening in the invert of a combined sphere. What do you mean by this? Now leaping weir is formed by a gap. So that gap is producing the concept of the gap, which is nothing but the leaping weir, okay, in the invert of a sphere. Through which the dry weather falls and over which a portion of the entire storm slips. This has an advantage. This is the figure you see where has been adjustable crest. Okay, now the combined sphere, when it overflows, then we will go after the treatment. After the treatment, if it is coming from the sewage treatment plant, then after the treatment, it will discharge into the river. So automatically, if it is overflowing portion, automatically will directly go to the river through this test system, through this weir system. So it has an advantageous matter. What advantages matter? Now, without involving moving parts, it can regulate the flow. That is the main advantage. Here you can see in the figure that without, this is an advantage of operating the regulator. Definitely, it is a regulating device without involving moving parts. But disadvantage is the grit materials gets concentrated in the lower flow channel. From practical consideration, it is desirable to have moving crest to take the opening adjustable. Then discharge is small, the switch falls directly into the intersecting sphere through the opening, but when the discharge exceeds a certain limit, the excess switch leaps. What do you mean by leaps? The meaning of the leaps is jumps. So that is why I am using this word. This is a leap. LEAP, leap means it is jumping phenomenon is occurred. So this is a leap where I am telling you again and again. So the excess switch leaps or jumps across the weir and it is carried to natural stream or river. As I have discussed you in the figure. So question, that is the leap where I have described, since the jumping phenomenon is happened over here. Next, float actuated gates and valves. Float actuated gates and valves. What is that? Now the excess flow in the sphere can also be regulated by means of automatic mechanical regulators. These are actuated by the float according to the water level in the jump interconnected to the sphere. Since moving part is involved in this, regular maintenance of this regular is essential. What we have learned, now excess flow in the sphere can be, apart from that, we have seen that either it is in leap weir or it is in side weir, side weir, leap weir. That two things we have seen in the above. And if excess flow in the sphere can also be regulated by means of automatic mechanical regulators. So there are the mechanical regulator device which is actuated by the float according to the water level in the sump interconnected to the sewers. So where the sumps are interconnected to the sewers, there this mechanized system, that is the automatic regulator, can be provided. So to regulate the overflow of this sewer into that sump. So that has to be taken care, that float actuated gates and valves So mechanical system, that is also called the regulating pump. Now what is siphon spillway? Let me discuss the siphon spillway. The arrangement of diverting excess sewage, same thing, the concept is same, because when the excess flow is there, then by siphonic pressure, that means by inducing air into the siphon, we are extracting the extra flow, the extra excess flow into the I mean to say the lateral system. So that is also called the siphonic spillway, or it is called the siphonic spillway. That means it is diverting excess sewage from the combined sewer. Excess sewage from where? From the combined sewer. It works on the principle of siphonic action, and it operates automatically. So I will close it today, because this will be a continuation of the next day lecture, that is the 9th number lecture. The sewer appurtenances will discuss in details, and will be completed in the next class lecture, that is the lecture number 9. There we will have a target to complete the sewer appurtenances part of your module 3. So definitely up to this, I will close it a day, and I will upload this lecture up to date, what we have taught you in the Google Classroom, so that we can go through that lecture. Definitely we will have again, I am saying the same thing, we will have an interaction like classes in Zoom like platform, or Google Meet classroom, or GoToMeeting, whichever the platform will be available to all of us. And there the one-to-one interaction will be discussed, clarification will be done. If any further queries after going through this lecture from the Google Classroom, that can be discussed in the live class, and tutorial questions can be uploaded for submitting the assignment from your part in due time. So thank you. Have a nice day.